8 rounds have now been completed at the US Championships 2015, and what an exciting event this is turning out to be. If you remember, after 5 rounds, Hikaru Nakamura and Wesley So, the two favourites, were in the top 2 positions. Since then, Wesley So has had a bit of a disaster. He's now lost 3 games. This was his round 6 game against Ray Robson, another young star, 20 years old. Ray Robson with the white pieces, Wesley So with black. And I like Wesley's position here, these nice centre pawns, blocking out the rook. Also, Wesley's pieces, very well coordinated. What's white got going for him? Well, this passed a-pawn is potentially dangerous, of course. It's blocked at the moment by the queen, but if it could get rolling, then it's supported by the bishop. Now this is move 34, and it's reaching crunch time with the time control coming up at move 40. And here Wesley played g5. Now I think the idea is good. Before he takes any decisive action, I think it's good to give his king an escape square. But g5 is a bit loose. It's a bit reckless. I think he should have just played g6. Okay, g5 happened, but of course it's not a fatal move. h3 from Robson. And I think Wesley should have just waited for the moment and played king g7, just improving his king position a little bit. Instead, he plunged in and took the pawn. But suddenly things turned around, because with the black queen away, then white's queen came to d6, an excellent move. So it looks at the e-pawn. It looks at the rook, so this queen can't go too far. And of course, it frees the way for the a-pawn to advance. And here, Wesley, I think, just kind of lost the overview of the position. He played rook c8. He should have just retreated. He should have compromised and headed for a draw. After queen b4, white can take that pawn, but after this, that rook will defend and also grab the a-pawn, and after this, well, of course, they're just trading down to a draw. But I think that's the best that black has. In the game, Wesley played rook c8, and then queen e5 is deadly, threatening the g-pawn, threatening the d-pawn. Also, that a-pawn is still waiting in the wings, and this is how the game ended. h6, protecting the g-pawn. Robson took, and after the exchange, well, this is a very simple win for white. The a-pawn advanced, and as we've seen on many occasions, that bishop locks the rook in, and that was enough. Wesley So resigned. Bit of a disaster. So Ray Robson having an excellent tournament. After 8 rounds, he's actually on 5.5. He's in second position at the moment. But out ahead, it's our old friend Hikaru Nakamura, still in pole position. Let's see how he got there. This is his 8th round game. Now he's playing Caden Trough, who is, one of the young stars in America. He's 16 years old. He's been trained by Kasparov. Great promise for the future. Okay, let's see how he got on against Hikaru. So it's a Benoni. Well, when black plays like this, you can be certain that he's up for a good battle. And, well, we know that Hikaru loves to set challenges for his opponent. Trough has just played the pawn forward to e4. Okay, it's a standard Benoni idea, of course. White wants to get this central pawn majority rolling. But there are drawbacks to this move. Knight g4. That knight might like to hop into e5 and then perhaps after c4 into that weakened d3 square. Now I think I like bishop g5 with simple idea, maybe bishop queen d2 afterwards. But Trough played knight d2. This is far more complex. I mean, in some ways it's more challenging for black. So the queen threatens the knight. Of course, the knight comes here, threatening to come into d3. And now bishop f1. It's a bit convoluted, but it's ambitious, because white now threatens to play f4, simply winning the knight. And I like Nakamura's next move, g5. So that means, well, f4 looks pretty suicidal in this case. You can exchange, and the knight will come back, and the bishop might come into d4, and all these squares are weak. Terrible. So clearly white can't do that. So Trough played h3, and that's to stop the pawn advancing to g4, and I think h3 is a logical move. Now queen f6, so Nakamura mobilising his queen, bringing it over to the king side, again very logical. Queen h5. I think that looks reasonable. The queen highlighting the drawbacks of the g5 move. You know, that pawn is potentially vulnerable. There are weak squares around black's king side as well. And now a really interesting move from Nakamura. He played bishop h6. Now, to my eyes, very unusual. I think it turns out extremely well, actually. There are a couple of ideas. One is that after g4, that's going to open up the bishop. But also it makes room for the queen to come to g7, and then the queen can be expelled from h5 with knight f6. I think it's a very nice move, actually, but very unexpected, at least to my eyes. Knight d1. There's another ambitious move. Basically, if white's strategy comes off, great. If not, you can see, you know, that knight is blocking the bishop, and of course that means the rook is also locked in. What's white's strategy? Well, if he can play the knight in, you know, to these weakened squares, then that's absolutely fantastic. But black has some activity in the meantime. g4 is a very logical move. Opening the position up. You can see already bishop takes and knight f3 are threatened, so knight e3 is necessary. And, well, this is a very surprising move, but I think a very good move. Nakamura gives up that beautiful dart-squared bishop, but of course it's to prevent that knight coming into f5. And suddenly you can see black is activating his pieces very well, so this knight threatened to come over, and that rook makes a rather ugly impression, so it's yet more pieces treading on each other's toes, and really white is not well coordinated here compared to black. But if white can coordinate, then he's got two bishops, there are loads of weaknesses around black's king, so, well, let's see. h takes g4, and now maybe Nakamura could have done better here. He played knight takes g4, but perhaps this is even stronger, because in this position, compared to the game, black is ready to break with f5. And I have to say, I do like black's position here. He sees the initiative, and his pieces are so much better coordinated than white's. But Nakamura played knight takes g4 straight away. It still looks pretty good. And here, well, many people were saying after the game, Hikaru included, that he felt that rook e2 was a better move in order to keep the rook on the king side, protecting f2. Still, black has good play there, but this is a very risky move, rook c3. Knight f6, and now the queen has to come back to this really ugly square, h1, and it starts getting chased around by this rook. So, I mean, maybe white is still okay here, but he's losing a lot of time, and in the meantime, you know, black is building up very quickly. And now, well, both players, I think, recognised after the game that probably rook b3 is white's best chance here. Even then, black has pretty good attacking chances after this move, but rook b3 looks like the only decent defence. Instead, queen d3 was played, and this is really taking too many liberties. Hikaru seized his chance, queen h6, threatening a mate. Bishop g2, a check, and now this was clearly overlooked. Knight takes f2, and black's pieces just flood in. Obviously threatening queen g2, white's queen defends, but rook e4 is a killer. Maybe this was the move that Caden Trough missed. It's a crushing move. Knight takes, knight takes. Basically, white is just material down in a sense in this position, because the rook and the bishop simply don't contribute to the defence. So what's the score here? Well, black is still an exchange down, but he's getting material back, and obviously white's king is just floating around in the middle of the board. Whether a check, but of course it means nothing. And after rook e8, the king is going to be checkmated. Obviously, if it goes this to the queen side, then there's moves like bishop f1. It's not going to help. And after this, white to resign to king f1, queen g2 will be mate. Well, a crushing attack from Hikaru Nakamura, and you could say maybe there were some inaccuracies. I mean, actually after the game, Hikaru was quite critical of his own play. He felt that he played inaccurately, but really one feels there was only going to be one winner in this game after white started playing so ambitiously, and when his pieces were so congested. So after 8 rounds, Hikaru Nakamura leads with 6 out of 8. Ray Robson is in second position with 5.5 out of 8, and as I said, Wesley So has had a bit of a collapse. He's still on 4.5, but really he's probably out of contention for first place unless Hikaru has a total collapse. 3 rounds to go. It's an 11-round tournament. 3 rounds to go, and it's still wide open. But today's 9th round pairings are going to be critical. Hikaru Nakamura plays Goreev, and Ray Robson plays Samuel Sevian. And Hikaru Nakamura and Ray Robson still have to play in the penultimate round. So, well, watch out for the results, and I'll be reporting on them later on.